So, okay, sorry. All right, so in terms of being a reflector, yes, like with the fact that we have everything open. So, kind of starting out, we need to understand that we are a different, I'm going to say it in this way, we are a different species than the other 99%. Literally everybody else is a solar type, we are a lunar type. So, we are literally talking about, even though we are 1%, we are literally talking about two different kinds of beings here, two different layers and levels of roles. You know, even if a projector only has one channel, two centers, and they've got all this openness, they're still going to be in a completely different world and realm than what a reflector is. But the general aspects of a reflector is understanding that we are here to be that mirror. So there is a level of our existence that one of the things that Ross said that I do actually really agree with and loved hearing was that our existence is not personal. Our mirroring is not personal. It is just a pure mechanical byproduct of kind of who we are in this sense of we are here to literally be these like living mirrors for the specific energy that we carry within our body. So all of the gates that we have, that is what you are here to be kind of a living, walking, embodied mirror for. So wherever you are at vibrationally with that energy, you know, you're going to be acting as a mirror for that. You'll be attracting other people who are going to be utilizing the mirror in you to have that reflection point for their energy as well. So there's the understanding that you as a reflector, you're not just this blank thing, like, you know, a regular mirror that has no purpose, that has no life force energy until someone steps in front of you. You
Yeah.
right? Like, and that's one of the things that I hear told about us is like, yeah, there's nothing about you until your interaction with somebody else, or till the moon lights up a certain channel. Like, that's fucking bullshit.
Yeah, and I did like attempt to do like there was someone on Instagram who was doing the profiles and the gates.
Like
And so that was
tracking
like
the
the
cycle.
yeah. So
Okay.
that was like I did like half a month on my own one time and I did like no, I did like a quarter of a month on my own. I didn't last very long and then I did like half a month because she was like putting the stuff out there. And it was funny because it was like some of the things that like made sense. And then some of the days where I was supposed to have like a manifestor or projector energy, I could see it. And then other days I was like, there's no generator happening here. So I was just like, this
Yeah.
doesn't seem to be.
Yeah, and that's one of the places where I differ from traditional HD people, because like I'm a 3/5, so again, like my profile is all about literally like real time experimenting with something and figuring out like, does this thing offer a solution? Does this work or does this not work? And does it provide an effective solution? And within the tracking of the lunar transit specifically, I found basically the same pattern where yes, I could see on certain transit times with certain things, I could see that impacting me. I could feel the moon clicking into that gate in those kinds of ways. But otherwise, tracking the moon for me, one became too much of a mental thing. It was too much of like me trying to like deduce and figure out like, okay, well, how am I supposed to be? And what is this supposed to be doing? And it wasn't something that ever landed naturally in my body. So the only thing that's ever landed naturally in my body has been to, and not even mentally, like there's no sense of routine or consistency for me. Granted, I'm a right facing person, so like I'm not meant to have that like super structure with that, but tracking or understanding the full planetary transits effect on you, at least on me, I found was so much more impactful
Mhm.
than following just the moon gates. And it makes sense when we understand that the sun is 70% of the conditioning force. It's 70% of the energy that's coming in. So that sun is going to be amplified, like the energy of it is going to be amplified even more than the moon is, and it's going to be sticking around for 6 days as opposed to like 6 hours, right?
Yeah.
So, but then even within that, there has been days where my chart is like fully fucking lit up and I've got, I'm supposed to have like manifesting generator energy and I am completely dead.
Yeah.
So within that, like I think it's really important to no matter where you're looking at in terms of transits and understanding, is to just see it as a potential aspect of deeper understanding. And anytime I ever look at transits, like I'm only ever looking at transits if like something specific happens and I'm like, what's in the air today? Like what's going on? And then I look and I'm like, oh, okay, that's it. That's what's going on. That makes sense. But otherwise, like trying to completely dictate your life is taking your awareness outside of your body and putting it in your mind into this like program. Whereas reflectors, we are already naturally going to be interacting with the planets in whatever way is correct for us. Because literally, like when you're looking at, this chart, you could see all of these different hanging gates as kind of like gears on a notches on a gear. And the planets are up here, clicking into all these different notches and pulling us in a very specific direction. So our timeline of something, the way in which our life plays out, is very intricately connected to that above. Right. So we in terms of like understanding the difference between the solar and the lunar types, the solar types, they all have some level of fixed definition. There is something that is them all the time that they are here to work with and to master in that way. And then they're fighting against the conditioning of their open centers. Us, we are open all the time. We are meant to be open all the time because we are not meant to be separate from existence. Right, in that real time. And that's why, like, when you kind of pull it down to its like foundational basics, that's why like you can look at us in terms of like, I don't mean this in any sense of like hierarchy, but like kind of seeing us as like what the pure human would be, maybe even what Ra is trying to describe as like what the raves are supposed to be. Because if you think about it, the reflector, like I said, the reflector isn't disconnected from the totality, right? We're not disconnected from our environment. We're intricately connected to our environment and affected by our environment. And we're intricately connected to and affected by everything that's going on up here. So when we're trying to make a decision, when we're waiting the lunar cycle, we don't need to be clicking through all these gates and mentally trying to figure out what's going on. It's just a matter of surrendering into the process of waiting at least that 30-day period. So that way we can just get more perspectives, more layers of information, right? Because the moon is moving through all 64 gates within those 30 days. So we are interfacing and talking with the cosmos, whether we're doing it consciously or not. We are being given whatever information we need. So that means that like if one day you've got a manifestor channel going on and you're meant to manifest something that day, okay, well then maybe that transit day, is something that plays out, but it's not going to be that way every single time just because this is the pattern of your monthly thing. That's just giving you some level of fixed understanding of the relationship between you and the language of the cosmos. That's it. So we're just waiting to get more levels of perspective. And then so when it comes to those open centers, we are here to become wise about the whole array, the whole spectrum of energy, of consciousness, and of people and of life in general. So that's where he kind of talks about, we're here to become very wise about whatever centers we have open. We're here to become wise about that. So we're here to become wise about all of life in general, then more specifically, the energies that we are imprinted with, right? Because those are the ones that we are also living out as well. So within that, we are also amplifying it. So whatever energy we are taking in from either the transits or the people around us, we're taking it in, we get to sample it, we get to taste it, we get to feel it, we're interacting with it internally, and then the way it gets projected back out becomes amplified so that it becomes this layer of informing, of really, it's like the energy wants to make itself known, right, to whoever and whatever it's being reflected to, whether that's just us or whether that's somebody that we're around. And the purpose of that is to essentially act as this mechanical potential for us to help raise the vibration and bring awareness to and create mutation for whatever energy it is that we are coming up against and sampling. But one of the biggest things about being a reflector is understanding that while we have the capacity to see potential, we see potential in anything and everything, right? Anything, anybody, It doesn't matter. We see what the highest potential is. This is where the disappointment comes in. If we do not understand that our existence is not personal, meaning we are trying to be a part of the other 99%. We are trying to be a part of this homogenized world and expecting that just because we see something and just because we know something means that it's going to change, or means that it because there's a highest potential here that it should be or it is living up to that highest potential. That's where we will always come into disappointment, because we are just here to see the potential and to wait for the people, places, and things that are ready to be pulled out of the matrix and to reach that fullest potential. Our job as a reflector is to act as that barometer, to be able to actually come up against somebody and experience their energy and go, okay, cool, I can see your highest potential. But I also see like your highest potential is over here. You're like currently right here. Right. So I have the full picture. I know what your whole puzzle is supposed to look like, but you've got so many other fucking pieces that you need to fill in before you can even see that picture. And within that then, so we have this responsibility to become wise about all the energy, so that way we know where somebody is at, we know whether or not they're ready, because us as an entity, just our presence in a room, we know can trigger the fuck out of people. Right? It's just like if you've got like a full body mirror and somebody walks past a mirror, there's usually going to be like one of two reactions. Either somebody's gonna be like, "Hey, good looking, what's up?" They're gonna like what they see, or they're gonna walk past the mirror, look at it, and be like, "Oh my fucking God, no, 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 no! I do not want to see that." Maybe they run away, maybe they smash the mirror, right? But they don't like what they see. Our energy is doing this without us even trying, with us just being around 24/7. So that's where we can trigger people just by literally being in their presence. But that's also where it becomes a responsibility for us to become very mindful about where a person is at and whether or not they are ready for the level of truth that we have the capacity to show them. It's kind of like the two-sided cosmetic mirror, where you've got one side that's the normal mirror and one side that's like the super zoomed in mirror. And if you've ever walked up to one of those and not been expecting it, it's not a fun time. Unless you're feeling real good about yourself, unless you've got the most perfect fucking skin ever and you have no flaws whatsoever, you are in your highest potential. there is never a moment where somebody walks up to that unexpecting it and doesn't go, "Oh my fucking God, I was not I was not ready for that level of detail, to see all those pores, to see all those lines, to see the gunk. Can't take it. Like, too much information. Too much." That is us. That is us. We have the potential to do that. So when we understand that our existence is not personal, one, we stop taking other people's reactions to us personally. And we also stop taking personally their inability to reach their fullest potential, or them not being there. Because we see that, we expect it from people. We want it, right? Because that keeps us healthy. That keeps us well. That keeps us having that allows us to have the capacity to feel and to experience humanity's fullest potential. Yeah. And when we don't get that, that's when the disappointment comes. Right? The surprise comes when people end up surprising us, when we're like, "Oh shit, like, you put the work in, you did this thing. Oh my God, you listened to me. You actually took my reflections and took my advice and did something with it. That is amazing." Or when you're removed from that, which is where the reflector is meant to live. The reflector we have the capacity to be in service to the other. But that is not our personal internal driven why. That's just for us to like the world that we live in and like the people that we're around. It's purely just for like, you can kind of think about it for our own selfish needs, like, and the selfish needs of like consciousness of like, come on, please wake the fuck up so we can just enjoy this shit. But otherwise, outside of that, the reflector's purpose is to be this pure vessel and channel, to be in connection with these two primary divine sides of us, the part that connects into nature, the part that is our human, animalistic self that connects into that level of consciousness, and then the other side that connects into our soul, our spirit, and the level of consciousness that lives above within the planets, within, source energy, all that kind of stuff. That is where we are meant to really pull our focus into, is to be there, to be that kind of liaison between the highest potentials of consciousness, and to be able to feel that connection, because that's truly where we are connected to. It's like the moon being in relationship to the earth. Like the moon and the earth are in a very intimate dance with each other. If the moon goes away, we're all fucked. Right? Or if the moon got any closer, we're all fucked. Right? So it's very important that we understand, as reflectors, there is a level of removedness. There is a level of distance that we actually need to keep from everybody else at times and in certain ways, in order for us to remain healthy and in order for us to not disturb their own process. Because if they're not ready, we can do more harm than we will good.
Yeah. Might have done that.
Like, we're like, okay, but really, are we doing a bad thing for you? I'm so sorry, I woke you up to the truth. Like, my bad. But to them, it's not great, right? Because they need to be able to process it. They need to be able to integrate it and to really handle it. And I know that you've seen in your existence that not everybody is ready to handle the truth. Not everybody is ready to see themselves mentally, emotionally, physiologically, whatever it is. There is that boundary there. So we have to take in that responsibility of really removing ourselves from wanting everybody to be perfect, and be like, okay, where are they currently at? Let me understand this so that way I can approach them in the way that meets them there. Is so long as I'm not degrading my own sense of well-being in the process. And then waiting for those people that we can recognize that are ready to utilize our whole beingness, right? The gifts that we have, and waiting for people to ask in that way. So there is that level of like, we will experience so much fucking disappointment if we try to just do the thing with everybody and don't wait for those appropriate times. And waiting for that appropriate time becomes a hell of a lot easier when we pull ourselves out of the matrix. We pull ourselves away from the other 99%, from trying to act like them, from trying to be like them, from trying to fit in with them and get them to see us and get them to understand us. And instead, turn our focus to the other side, go within and really cultivate that inner sense of connection that we have to the levels and layers of life that are bigger, through those other two forms of consciousness. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that hopefully that kind of like gives you like a good foundational understanding of like the whole reflector nature and like how we're supposed to act and be, and like where our attention needs to be focused if we have any chance of like getting through life without just like beating our fucking heads in.
Well, and I can definitely see where I'm like, oh yeah, that I can see where that has not gone well, and I can see where that has gone well. Yeah. Yeah, and definitely so I know that it's better when I don't take things personally and I can kind of remove myself a little bit. But then I also know that it's like I feel everything. And so it's like, and I've done like, like the isolation thing. And it's like, yeah, that helps to keep the influences out. But then it's also for me, like rather lonely. Like I want that interaction. Um, so I think kind of like I love like harmony and balance, and that's always resonated with me. But I think it's funny because that's also something that I seem to like struggle with, where I'm like, going from like one to the other and then occasionally kind of landing in the middle, but like usually kind of doing the dance.
Yeah, so basically kind of like finding it hard to like detach fully from everything else there. Yeah. And so a lot of that, it goes into the fact that again, like we are here to be in service to them, but it's only beneficial to us and to them if it's appropriate, if it's wanted. Like you even have in your True Studio chart the 1858 channel, which is the channel of correction or the channel of judgment. And like that's all about wanting to correct and perfect things within society. And so like you have this energy there that is like, excuse me, this shit's fucked. We need to fix it immediately. Just within that. And then you've got the reflector on the other side that like is taking it all in, that is feeling the effects of it and is like, no, really, we have to fix this. So like I don't want to make it seem like the reflector is literally just here to be like fucking floating throughout space and just like doing nothing. Like the reality is we are here. We are in a physical fucking body. We are affected by everything and everyone around us. That is the reality of being in this physical vessel as a human. And as a reflector and being open in that ways because we are extremely susceptible to the energy around us, especially until we can cultivate this other side, this more spiritual kind of real understanding. Until we can cultivate that connection within us, we're always going to instead be looking for it over here.
Yeah.
But when you do create this connection, that gives you the capacity to detach a little bit more, to have your internal cup being filled. So that way you have the ability to be more of like what they talk about of like be the screen and not the sponge, where you can go into society, you see all the shit that's fucked up. And, some days I still fucking yell about it. Some days I still complain about it because why the fuck am I not going to? Like, but then there's always that moment of like, okay, said my piece. Whoop, let me kind of pull back in and like recenter myself because like, fuck me, I don't have the energy to fix everyone and everything around here. I'm a fifth line, and trust me, I really want to sometimes. So there is that need and that understanding that you're never not going to see or feel the things that are there. But what will become different is its effect on you, of how long it stays within you, of whether or not you identify with it, whether or not you feel like a victim to it, or whether or not you can really kind of take your place in the grand scope of things and go, okay, in terms of society, in terms of this 3D little matrix game that we are all in right now, a part of my job is to be here to feel it all, to witness it all, and to wait for those people, places, and things that are different, that can be woken up or that are already at that place. And then I'm going to go be in there. I'm going to go be around that. Because one of the other aspects of being a reflector, and this is just kind of like a mechanical thing of like how we can navigate life and understand what we need to do in order to make our own experience here more successful, more peaceful, more surprising, more healthy and well, is to understand that we amplify and reflect the environments that we're in. We're told this all the time, but this goes to such a deep layer where it's like needing to understand that, say, as a reflector, you're wanting to experience financial abundance, but you're living in an environment that is you're being constantly surrounded by nothing but poverty. You are not going to be able to, or it's going to be really fucking hard for you to be able to get to that place of financial abundance while you are living in an environment whose energy is exuding nothing but poverty. Right. And like, it can feel really like bad and maybe judgmental for us to say that, but we just have to understand the mechanics of we become the environment that we are in. We become the people who we are around. Granted, again, yes, we can always have that layer of detachment there.
Yeah.
But it overall, there is a general point of the mechanics that is going to be happening where what energy we're taking in and or then amplifying is going to be at a certain vibrational level, and it's going, even if you have the capacity to take that energy in and transmute it into something higher, understand how much fucking energy of yours that's going to take.
Yeah.
It's not to say that it can't be done, but is that the way in which you want to be spending your energy? Is that how you want to be spending your time, is fighting against the current?
That's where I feel like I have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
And I'm
you
tired.
want to you want to be unapologetic about it and be like, cool, y'all do whatever the fuck y'all are doing over here. I'm gonna go over here to the people who will listen to me to where I can actually like ascend in life in the ways that I want to, as opposed to feeling like I have to fix your fucking problems, or like I need to be concerned with the fact that there's different experiences in life. There's people who suffer, there's people, you know what I mean? Like there's all these different things. It's not my job to fix that. It's not my job. That's their world. That's the solar types world to fix. I'm just here to notice who's ready, and I'm here to live the dictates of my own soul, and to allow myself to be where I need to be interacting with who I need to be in order to cultivate that deeper connection with myself and with the cosmos and nature in that way. And then that's how I will become of best of service to everybody else. Because when you have the capacity to raise your own vibration, then the energy that you take in and amplify out is automatically going to be higher. And you can kind of think about being a reflector in that way as almost being like a grid worker. Like if you've ever heard the term, like people who are grid workers, like they work on the grid, they help like transcend the energy
I've
of
heard that and I'm like, I don't like, and I've tried to understand it, and the same thing with like, I heard about being like a star seed and that thing. And I find that I have like I have no comprehension. I can't find like any information, or the information that I do find is like, yeah, this is too off
yeah.
of my, like it's too much.
So when I say like the whole like grid worker thing, like it's really just like a perspective of understanding that you like, because again, we're taking in energy, it's coming into us, and then we are amplifying it back out. So if we are at a higher vibrational awareness, if the energy that we have going on inside of us is working at that higher potential capacity, then when it becomes amplified back out and mirrored to the other people, that energy then goes into them, goes into this space, and has the capacity to raise the vibration of it. And that goes into what Ra talks about. If you've ever heard him talk about this, or you've ever heard anybody say it, there is a school of thought where basically Ra has told people that, have you ever seen the movie The Matrix?
Yes.
Okay. So basically we're either Neo or Agent Smith. We're either
Okay.
trying to keep people in the Matrix, keep them homogenized, keep them asleep, or we're Neo trying to break them out, wake them up, get them to like realize their fullest potential.
Okay.
And so within
That's
that,
so funny because at one point, after finding out I was a reflector, I was like, oh, so we're the Oracle. Like, I totally went in the wrong direction with that.
it's like kind of being the Oracle too, though, right? Because like she's tapped into some shit. Like we
Yeah.
have the capacity to be tapped into life in such a pure, undisturbed way because we are entirely open. There is no layer between us and reality around us. Right.
Yeah.
Everything comes in, everything gets amplified back out. So that's where understanding that we do have the capacity to change people, to help transmute them, to help raise their vibrational awareness just through us being around them without us even having to say anything, because of that absorption and amplification process. So long as we are in that proper state. But if we're in our victim state, we're living in the shadows of all this stuff, that's when Ra talks about, oh well, you'll just keep everybody asleep, you'll just keep everybody homogenized, right? Because that's then just what you're putting out.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like, hopefully all that, there we go, there's some
Yeah.
good some good foundational basics.